Good evening, everyone, and welcome to night number 2 of the 2025 Rick Steves Europe Festival of Tours. Tonight, we're going to explore what makes Rick Steves Tours so unique with the help of two of my wonderful colleagues. My name is Ben Green, and I'm back for another festival night to be your moderator. We have an early booking discount on all of our itineraries for 2026 tours through July 2nd, so keep a lookout for that if you're interested in joining us on a tour. And we have 46 itineraries across dozens of countries. I just love this spaghetti map and being able to see all the amazing places we go. Okay, getting into some specifics of what we're going to go over tonight. We have a plan that includes a look at the history of Rick Steves Tours as told by a veteran guide I will introduce shortly. We will review the type of traveler who most enjoys a Rick Steves tour, what makes Rick Steves tours so special, a discussion of the different types of tours we offer, that's very important, a few example days from a few of our itineraries, the next steps to enjoying and registering for a tour, and finally, a Q&A session. So, phew, we have a lot of great information to share, but first we have a welcome from Rick. I'll just get that ready here now. So let's say hello to Rick.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves, and I'm so glad you're joining us for this Tours 101 information session. When I started my tours way back in the late 1970s, it was 8 tours in a van with me as the driver. It's incredible to me that 45 years later, we now take over 30,000 enthusiastic travelers to Europe each year. We're passionate about connecting curious travelers with great guides, employing really smart itineraries, and a passion for experiential travels, so those who join our tours can enjoy the trips of their lives, exploring destinations all across Europe on more than 40 different itineraries. However, it's clear to me that our tours are not for everyone. Sure, for many, it's a great experience. That's why about half of our travelers are return customers, and hundreds of people have taken 8 or 10 or more of our tours. But we're not for everyone, and I've got to say, for the wrong traveler, a Rick Steves tour can be a hellish vacation. It's a big decision for you, a huge responsibility for us, and it's in everybody's interest to be sure people know what they're signing up for. And that's why I'm excited about the purpose of this session. Simply put, it's to determine if a Rick Steves tour is right for you. In this Tours 101 session, you'll learn about what kind of traveler makes a great Rick Steves tour member, how our tours are designed, and which tour might be the best fit for you. Plus, we'll give you a detailed look at a day in the life on a Rick Steves tour. I hope this is a great and enjoyable information session for you. You're in great hands with our team that's running it, and we all hope to see you on the road soon on a Rick Steves Europe tour. Thanks so much, and happy travels.
Thank you, Rick. Now I would like to introduce our two guest presenters for the evening. You all, and me as well, are in for a real treat. I would like to welcome back Lisa Friend, a tour guide with more than 20 years experience, and Robyn Stencil, our tour program manager here at Rick Steves Europe, who's intimately involved in our tours and itineraries. Hi, Lisa and Robyn.
Hi, Ben.
So great to have you both back for Tours 101. Yay!
Yay! We're happy to be here. I feel like just before my welcome meeting on the beginning of my tour, like I'm nervous and excited. I'm looking forward to talking to you. So thank you for having us back.
Oh, well, the pleasure is all mine for sure. I'm going to turn things over to you, but before I do, I would just like to know, what is your next Rick Steves tour you'll be on, either for vacation or for guiding?
Well, I am heading off next month to research the Sicily guidebook. So not quite a tour, but following in the same path as our Sicily tour goes on. And then later in the year, I think I'm heading back to Brussels and Italy, Tuscany.
Nice. I will go dive deep into the heart of Rome and start a 10-day or 9-day Heart of Italy tour, which I will be leading. And then I will be doing our Mac Daddy of all tours, the 21-day Best of Europe, before coming home and spending summer in Seattle.
Fantastic. I'm glad you both have great travels ahead. Of course, I'm not surprised by that. You may know that tomorrow, just less than 24 hours from now, I will get on a plane to go and enjoy our Adriatic tour. So I'm very much looking forward to that as well. Well, thank you, Lisa and Robyn. I'll hand it over to you and let me know if you need anything. I'll be back for the Q&A.
Thank you. And Ben, I know you're going to have a great time on the Adriatic tour. That is such a wonderful itinerary. I'm very excited for you.
Thanks, Lisa and Robyn. I'm so excited too.
Okay, so to get us started, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to start talking about the history of the Rick Steves Tour. I think it's important for us as a company to always remember where we came from. So as Ben described me as a veteran, I'm going to say, gather around the campfire, children, and I will tell you the stories of old. And maybe some of you know this from hearing it from Rick and his myriad times of talking about it, but I've been around long enough that I remember some of these things as well. So we're going to talk about the history of Rick Steves' tour before we had TV shows on PBS, before we had a radio show on NPR and podcasts. We had award-winning guidebooks and 5-star reviewed free audio tours called Audio Europe. But before all of that, Rick turned his passion for travel into small group tours. So he started out with a big bus tour company who shall remain nameless. But their deal was if you could get 20 people to sign up for a tour, you could come along for free as an escort. And so he did that, I think 2 or 3 times. And he loved the efficiency of group travel, but he hated how the industry was run. He hated how guides made their money. So he hated the downsides of it, like people being trapped in hotels far outside the city center and being charged optional excursions for a night walk through Rome, swapping shopping for cultural excursions or for kickbacks. That's how a lot of mainstream guides made their money. So you would take your group shopping. So you would skip the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam and you would go to the Diamond Exchange. They also made their living from tips. And so we at Rick Steves don't accept tips. All of your tips are included. The tips for the hotel, the guide, and the driver are all taken care of. And one of the things that we also hold fast to from the very beginnings of our company is teaching and educating our tour members. So we teach them how to use public transportation in cities so that they can get the most of their free time. That's an absolute core value of our guides today. And I tell my tour members at the beginning of the tour at the welcome meeting that I want them to come back on a Rick Steves tour because they thought it was a good value and they had a great time, not because they didn't think that they could do it by themselves. So that's something that's really important to us. Rick started out giving picnics. I think some of that was his hippie camping roots, but it also is a really efficient way to expose people to different foods. So, a platter of escargot for 20 people makes a lot of sense. So they can try it, but they didn't have to worry that they would hate it. They didn't have to have any sort of high stakes issues with ordering a full meal of something that they were terrified of. So that's something that we have kept to this day. Is the tradition of trying out local foods and having picnics. And we still do that on itineraries where it makes a lot of sense. Now, as far as sleeping goes, in the early days, we all slept in hostels. I am not that old. I missed out on the hostel days, thank goodness. And we even stayed in a circus tent in Munich so we could go to Oktoberfest. Then we morphed into double rooms for couples, and all of the single women, and there were a lot of them on the tours in those days, would sleep in the loft. I am old enough to remember the sleeping loft at Walter's in Gimmelwald, high in the Alps. So this really illustrates that our company was rooted in sort of this hippie communal camping vibe. And yes, I love having my own room and my own toilet in my room, but I and my fellow guides really try and foster a feeling that we're all in this together. And we went from fitting in a minibus to a full-size bus, but we still didn't pack it with 52 people. So most full-size buses are configured to hold 48 to 52 people, and our groups are 24 to 48. This is the spaghetti map, as we call it. So we have 46 different itineraries, as Ben mentioned. And we want to talk next in this section about who enjoys a Rick Steves tour. Who is the perfect traveler? Well, Sue here I had on tour last year, and she was actually the perfect traveler. Curious, participatory, open-minded, interested in other cultures. She really embraced our travel style, which was getting a broader perspective through travel. Not there, Sue wasn't there for a passive vacation, but she was there for a travel adventure. And culturally curious and interested in history and art, those are really good Rick Steves tour members. And I don't mean that in a judgy way, so I hope it doesn't come across, but we want people to have a good time. Your vacation is precious, your money is precious. We want people who are going to have a great time on our tours. So if you don't want to hear my friend Tomas, if you don't want to hear his stories about his grandfather in World War II, or how this tiny wine growing village on the banks of the Rhine is surviving in modern times, you're not going to be happy on a tour. And physically, we do a lot of walking tours. We feel so strongly about you being happy on tour that we make you sign a no grumps policy. I'm always a little nervous at the first night meeting when I see a look of confusion on somebody's face, usually a husband's, because he didn't know that he signed that because his wife signed him up. That we have this no grumps clause. We will be fanatically positive and militarily optimistic. But really, honestly, it doesn't happen that much. The people that take our tours are really delightful people who are a joy to travel with. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because I have two beautiful children and a long-suffering and sweet husband at home, and I couldn't stay away from them if I was forced to travel with people who are miserable. So our tour members aren't miserable. You don't have to be an extrovert on our tours, although Rick does say that extroverts have more fun, but it is important to say yes to adventure. Here's Pat in Portugal. She is saying yes to barnacles, and a newly knighted gentleman is trying on his chainmail at an interactive medieval museum that we go to. What's a typical group makeup? I mean, if I were going to plunk down a lot of money for a tour, I'd want to know what the tours look like. So here's a group I had. This was my Heart of Italy group last spring. So we have couples, friends, solo travelers, mother-daughter pairs, a few families, and a friend group. And we really become like a family. Nowhere is this more evident than the actual family-friendly tours. This is the last night of my family-friendly tour that I took 5 years ago. And this is all of the kids on the tour. We're walking back from our last night dinner. And what I love about this is I had the grandparents, Alan and Tanis, they came on tour with me last year with different grandchildren. And they said these kids in this photo, they still keep in touch with each other. And that makes my heart so happy. The other people who are happy on Rick Steves tours are light packer. Here is my daughter, Nora, and she is perfectly embodying a Rick Steves tour member packer. She's got a full-size, carry-on size backpack. It can be a wheeled bag or a backpack, it doesn't matter, but she's got that 9 by 22 by 14 suitcase, and then she's got a day bag. She's got this one on her hip, but that also converts to a backpack. Why is it important to pack light? Well, we'll tell you, I think probably more than once tonight. But the tour bus doesn't always pull up right to the hotel. You often have to carry your bag. So this is a group of mine in Florence where the city center and our hotel isn't accessible by tour bus. So our tour bus smartly drops us off right at the airport. It's the end of the tram line. I go and run ahead and buy the tickets, and we all get on the tram with our luggage. We all have a place to sit, and we roll into town 20 minutes later, and then we walk 5 minutes to our hotel, the Hotel Academia. But this isn't the only tour that we do something like this on. We have boats coming into Venice, and I know Robyn's going to talk about that a little bit more. We take the Eurostar train when we are going from London to Paris on the family friendly. We take high-speed trains from Barcelona to Madrid on that tour. And even any tour that goes into the Cinque Terre, we're taking a small little 10-minute train. So there can be a lot of other modes of transportation on these tours. So comfortably and cheerfully carry your bag. It pains me slightly to say this, but if you show up with a 24-inch bag, nobody is going to kick you off the tour. Your bus driver might look at you a little bit funny, but we have the room for it. It's mostly because we want you to comfortably and cheerfully carry that bag up the stairs, because I would say less than half of the hotels have elevators. Do you want to correct me, Robyn?
I would definitely correct you. I think that the percentage is much higher that have elevators, but it's not fun when they don't. So plan for the worst case. And then
See,
get
now
the best.
Robyn knows the entire tour program better than I do, but I'm like, on my tours, it's actually 75% of the hotels don't have elevators, the ones I lead. But also, we will talk about this a little bit more, but we'll say it again here. Just because there's an elevator doesn't mean you want to spend your precious free time waiting 20 minutes in a crowded lobby to get to your room because you're not willing to carry your luggage up the stairs. So that's the skinny. Now, but Lisa, I'm nervous about packing that light. Well, I have done a really successful packing class that's on our YouTube Travel Talks channel that will tell you exactly how to do it. And I don't want to hear any excuses, honestly. I pack in a 9x22x14 bag for 14 to 40 days. So it is definitely doable. Here's a sneak peek of everything I take for 14 to 40 days. That's it. It can be done. The only difference for a longer tour, because the key is laundry. The only difference for the longer tour is I take more disposable contact lenses and I take more meds. But everything can fit in that bag and my day bag. I won't lie. I do have a day bag that has plenty of stuff in it, including my travel CPAP. So now, for the last people who enjoy a Rick Steves tour before Ben shows us a video, is people who like to walk, whether you're in the city or in the countryside, all shapes and sizes, but with good footwear and a love of walking makes a lot of sense. So Ben, whenever you're ready, you could please show us the video.
Hello, I have the pleasure to introduce to you and interview this evening my former tour members and now good friends. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Heather, I'm Michelle.
And they are 9-time alums. So we came to them to get the skinny for you tonight on the Tours 101 information session. Okay, well, I was going to ask you who your favorite guide was, but it better be me because I know where you live.
I mean, shall we just say besides you, or?
Sure. Or, you know, if you don't want to be indiscreet, if you just want to say, what were some of the qualities of the guide that you enjoyed the most?
A great question. Well, basically, all the guides are super friendly, super informative, but also at the same time, they're laid back. But as much as they're laid back, they keep us on schedule so that we don't miss an admission time or a breakfast or a dinner, you know, or what have you, whatever we're doing that day. And they're just super nice.
And I think that, I mean, we've been on enough tours so that I can recognize that the tour guides have been fantastic, and there have been some that I've connected with more, kind of their style and their personality. So I'm happy to say that one of my favorite folks that we've traveled with is Alfio. We did a Sicily tour with Alfio. And one of the things, this happens on every tour, but he evidently put a lot of thought into what happened on the bus in terms of learning opportunities, in terms of the lectures that he gave.
How would you describe the Rick Steves Europe style of travel to someone who's never been on one of our tours?
You should go.
I've talked about him a lot, and what I say is that there's a lot of opportunity built in for you to do what you're interested in. So, you know, one of the things that I so much appreciate about it, we'll probably talk about this later, is the transportation piece being taken care of, so you don't have to kind of worry about the headache of that. And then what I'll say to folks is, like, you do something together as a group in the morning, but maybe by 11:30 or 1, you're free, and then you can go do whatever you want. And some people want to take a nap, and some people want to walk around the battlements, and some people, like me, want to go see 6 art museums. So that's the thing that I say. It's like it is an organized tour, but there's still a lot of flexibility within it to focus on your style or your pace or your interests.
Yep.
What would
Yeah.
you like to tell first-time tour members, or what would you like them to know? And then the other thing is, what was your biggest apprehension before your first Rick Steves tour?
I think just to go back briefly, and we can just chat about this. I think they should read. They should read. Don't take the approach that they're just gonna get on a bus and be carted off to a beautiful place, because you're going to go to the beautiful place, but you need to know what you want to see and what you want to do in that place. And it sometimes astonishes me how sometimes folks won't know where we're going tomorrow. And if that's their travel style, that is great. It isn't mine. But yeah, that would be the thing. Read or listen. Yeah.
But that said, the tour guides give you information. Like if you showed up on a tour without any preparation,
You'll be fine.
Yes, and the
You'll
tour
be
guides
fine.
provide really clear communication about what's happening that day and the next day, and some options about how to spend your time. So it sort of feels like tour guides come in with the expectation that folks are not necessarily going to know what they want to do that day, and they work to provide good options. So that's fantastic.
Thank you, Michelle and Heather, for graciously spending your time telling us they were not given any kind of recompense for that unaudited review.
We always enjoy hearing directly from our tour member alumni, as we call them. Once you've taken a tour with us, you become an alumni, and we love to have our alumni back. We have about a 50% alumni return rate. So we look forward to new tour members as much as we look forward to returning alumni tour members. And now we're going to talk a little bit about what makes a Rick Steves tour unique. And Lisa kind of mentioned this earlier. First and foremost, for starters, the nuts and bolts of what we include is one thing that makes us unique. All of our sightseeing events, like you mentioned, all of our tips are included. And that is something that can be different from other tour companies. In addition to that, of course, all of your transportation accommodations, and also the local experts that you'll have along the way, accessing Europe through their eyes and their world. What's really special about our tours, though, I think first and foremost is our guides. And whenever I talk to a tour member about a tour that they've taken, the first thing that they say was, "Oh, we had the best guide." And then we play a really fun guessing game about, well, what was their name or who were they? And I can always usually get it. So our guides really make a big impact. And it starts with their involvement with us in the office. Not only are they integral in leading the tours, but they're also really involved in putting the tours together, working as a team. They care so much, and they bring their passion and their knowledge and the culture from where they are. And they really want to make you an active participant. We work with them throughout the year, brainstorming new activities and testing some of them out to see how they would maybe go on our tours. And all of that in turn helps them facilitate your time on tour. And it's a really unique thing about our tours that you might start off as strangers, but you end up as family. And Lisa alluded to that as well. When I used to lead tours, I would always tell my tour members on the first night, you might not know one another today, but I guarantee in 3 weeks you will leave as a family. And I'm also going to agree with Lisa that you travel once and you'll stay connected for a very long time. It's not unusual for those lifelong friendships to develop. One way that we help form the group traveling together is from learning from one another, learning together. And we enjoy a lot of different bonding activities, cultural connections. One of the best ways that we promote bonding and cultural connections is through food. Of course, we want you to try all of the local meals. They can be very special, like trying the homemade guyash in Hungary, or having a beautiful sunset dinner across from the Alhambra. And on top of that, our local guides really stand out and play a big part in making our tours unique. They spend the day sharing their knowledge with you, bringing history to life, and they get you up close and personal to the local culture and traditions and the secret places that you might not even know about or find on your own, like going to the convent in Ubada, where you can buy cookies from the nuns using a Lazy Susan window, and helping facilitate some really unique activities beyond just churches and museums that are also important sites to visit. Our hotels, as Lisa sort of alluded to already, are also very unique. The first thing you need to know is that you won't find very many business hotels or American style hotels on our tour. Instead, we look for clean, centrally located, relatively quiet, and reasonably priced family-run accommodations where you'll be treated like family as well. For a lot of our hotels, we've been working with them for 20 or 30 years. They definitely know us. All of them are different and unique, and also different than what you will find at home. Really, no two hotels are alike, or no two hotel rooms are alike, but they're all special in their own way. It's hard to even choose a favorite, although you really can't beat the views you have in Switzerland from Lugano or at the Golden Hour in the Lauterbrunnen Valley. This really helps us choose the best accommodation in each city or each region that still fits the needs of our groups. And like I said, it's really hard to compare across tours because of how different countries can be. The hotels will differ from place to place, but they're all going to give you a comfortable place to rest at night. Something to point out is that amenities, not only will they be different from place to place, but they'll also be different from what you might be used to at home. And a good example of this is you might be used to having a tea or coffee maker or a tea kettle in your room here in the United States when you travel. But if you go over to Italy, you're not going to find that. You might find it in Germany or Spain or Britain or England, but you're certainly not going to find it everywhere. And those little quirks are just learning lessons. And I know one guide used to say, if you don't like your room, you're spending too much time in it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
And no mini fridges.
Not always mini fridges.
No.
You can't be guaranteed one. If you have a medical need, of course, we can help facilitate that to the best of our abilities. And now Ben is going to show us a little video clip about our comfy and quaint hotels.
I've stayed in some of the best hotels in the country, in the United States. And you walk in and you say, this is nice. I've stayed in a lot of these hotels on the tour, and when you look back a few years later, I can't remember the five-star hotels, which was which, but I remember these hotels because of the charm.
The hotels on this tour were great, always well kept, fabulous staff, always clean. Some were, a little more modern, but then we'd stay in some local ones that had a lot of character.
They've been very unique. They haven't been same old same. You don't feel like you're stuck in an American hotel. You definitely feel like you're in a local hotel and with a very European flavor.
They've all been smaller hotels, which I like. It's not the cookie cutter, American hotels transplanted to Europe. They've all felt very, very authentic to the regions and to the areas.
One thing is always the same, and that's that they're in some way unique.
They're going to be a little bit different than what people would experience in the U.S. Sometimes they're going to have stairs, sometimes they're going to have really small elevators.
I like that they're not super commercialized. They're really kind of intimate, so the staff is really friendly.
They give you a feeling of a private home, which is very, very nice.
The employees, they are working in the same hotel for many years. It's a bit like a family.
For the most part, they're always going to be central. We really place an emphasis on that, being well located, close to different sites, but also close to public transportation.
They are located in the heart of the area that you want to be in. Just like with real estate, location is the most important thing for a hotel, particularly when you're in a town for 2 days. You need to be where the action is and where you can get to the major sites conveniently and easily.
Thank you for that, Ben. We'll just get our presentation pulled back up. It's great to hear from tour members talking about our hotels. And I think one thing to point out and to remind everyone that, you travel to see different places and to experience new things. And that's part of the reason why we go with those more local hotels. So we really enjoy finding them and cultivating those relationships, and hope you enjoy them as well. Moving on, more things about that are unique about our tours. They're really active, and Lisa mentioned this as well. And one tool that can help you when trying to decide what tour you might like to take is by going onto our website. You can go to each itinerary, and you will see an activity level that's a grade for that entire itinerary. And in the day-by-day description, you'll also see just how strenuous that particular day is. This is not to scare you at all. It's just to help you be realistic, and also to help you choose the tour that's going to be the best fit for you. Part of the reasons that the tours are active, as Lisa mentioned, is because we do expect you to carry your own bags to and from the hotel and the bus. And in some cases up flights of stairs, especially if you don't want to wait for that elevator that Lisa was mentioning. That's another thing that's very different about European hotels. An elevator at home that might fit 8 to 10 people in Europe will fit maybe 1 or 2 people or a bag. 1 or 2 people and maybe a bag. And it's also why you can always recognize the Rick Steves group arriving or departing a town. You'll see them all rolling their suitcases.
The Rick Steves rumble.
The Rick
down the
Steves
street.
rumble. But it's not just getting to and from hotel. Europe in general is just a really active place, and it requires walking, standing, climbing. If you want to be rewarded with those beautiful vistas, or experiencing and enjoying the art in these museums, which might actually surprise you just how big these museums are. And then you have free time to contend with as well, and you want to have enough energy that you can actually go do and see the things you want to do during your free time. Another reason that our tours are active is we get you off the bus and into nature instead of sightseeing from the bus. We're really putting you into the actual activity. So you'll be storming the castles in England. You'll be actively participating in the tin mines. You'll be walking through fields along Ireland's coast. And if you choose to go on the Basque tour, you can spend the day walking along the Camino de Santiago. Or if you take a Switzerland tour or any tour that goes through Switzerland, you can enjoy a day on the valley floor. It's on a certain amount of itineraries that we build in a free day where you can be as active as you like to, but these are often the wow moments of our tours, I would say. And as we teased earlier, talking about what kind of tour is right for you. Of course, some itineraries might be better than others, depending on what you're interested in. And the first thing to know, or the first thing to consider, is that we have a handful of different styles of tours. So our tours can either be best of, heart of, city tours, or my way. We also have Village Italy and the family, or village tours and the family tours. So our best of tours, these are the most comprehensive tours that we have. They cover the major sites in mostly large towns or big cities. Our best of tours include what Rick considers the must-do or the must-see for the first-time traveler to this location. So you can think of them as kind of giving you a taste or a survey of what this country or this region is like, and knowing you won't get to all of the places, but you'll get such a solid overview that you might want to come back later and explore more in depth. Our best of tours don't just stick to the capital cities. We do mix in a mix of quaint towns, lesser known destinations in general, like our Bulgaria tour, which is the best of Bulgaria, but I would say Bulgaria in general is lesser known than other countries in Europe. And we also facilitate visiting those major places like Stonehenge or the museums that are just, you can't miss. Our Heart of Tour category, these are purposefully designed to include some, but not all, of those top tier destinations. And then we mix in more hands-on experiences and cultural breaks. So again, these might not hit all of those things that Rick considers to be the best of the area, but they still do include the top sightseeing opportunities in each place, like the Cinque Terre on the Heart of Italy that Lisa runs. And these Heart of tours, they're focused more on tight, efficient routes and typically shorter itineraries, 8 to 12 days. Greece is a little bit longer, but they fit a little bit tighter itineraries. And they make a point of mixing more rural destinations, like in the heart of France, countryside overnights, and you also have destinations with fewer crowds, thankfully, with some of these smaller places. If not fewer crowds, you have a feeling of more space or time to settle in. And the pace feels a little more relaxed because you aren't always rushing to the next site or museum. And because we hone in on those smaller destinations like the Village Italys, it gives you a completely different experience than sticking just with the capitals and major tourist cities. Typically on the Heart of tours, you can expect immersive experiences like Fado, or a cultural performance in a pub in Ireland, or demonstrations that have you putting your skills to the test. And of course, you are rewarded for your efforts with a lovely meal afterwards. Our city tours are designed to tackle Europe's major destinations in a more in-depth kind of a way. These are short and sweet, 1 or 2 cities, and always designed to give you an intimate look at that location, which with guided tours and museum visits from local experts, and you get to focus on different sites and different neighborhoods, so you're seeing beyond just those 1 or 2 top tourist sites in each location. And that really helps you become a temporary local during your stay, which is something that we love to do, get involved and get in there with the locals. As an added bonus, there's much less travel time and you only have 1 or 2 hotels to get used to. And with hotels being so different, this is definitely a bonus. You just kind of have to learn 1 time or 2 times where's the light switch and what side of the room is the bed on. But our city tours still give you plenty of free time to dive into the local culture and the back streets and those truly local experiences like the baths in Budapest that you have time to go on. And leaving a few of your afternoons and evenings free to discover even more on your own. Our My Way tours, the next category of tours, these are designed to handle the stress and the logistics for you while giving you the maximum freedom to create your own daily activities. So these provide you with all of the accommodations and transportation and a full-time tour manager who will help you along the way. But you ultimately decide what you want to do each day in each place for where the tour visits. All the sightseeing and all the meals are on your own time and expense, which makes it easy for you to design the trip of your dreams. And this really appeals to travelers who don't want to mess with the headache and the hassle of booking their own trip, including getting from place to place, but still want that freedom to cover your own interests. And with our My Way tours, we cover 4 regions. We cover Italy, we cover France, we have My Way Spain, and we have Alpine Europe. And again, this tour is definitely unique because we don't include any group activities or meals. We just get you to those key destinations and then you're free to control exactly what you do. So it's fully customizable.
Breakfast.
We cover breakfast, but we don't cover lunches and dinners.
Hey, the breakfast on the My Way Alpine, like those are some good breakfast.
Anything in Alpine Europe is going to be a hearty breakfast for sure. And then the bonus category, we do have a family Europe tour, which Lisa mentioned. And this is special because it fits in that best of style, the survey tour, but it's meant specifically for families. And this one starts in London and ends in Florence and is geared specifically to design and instill a love of Europe for kids and mixing in those big sites and kid-friendly activities. It's a great tour.
That's the best itinerary we have.
Spoken truly. We often get this question, what is the best tour to go on if it's your first time taking the tour? And it really varies wildly. And I would say that, 2025, we're pretty much sold out. We do still have some seats available on a handful of tours, but you can see the top 10 first time itineraries in 2025 includes our best of Venice, Florence, Rome. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later, all the way down to the heart of Scotland. And even though we've only had our 2026 tours open for a very short time, you can see the list so far of what first-time travelers are choosing. But it really just is totally dependent on you and what you're interested in. Almost as important as where to go is the question when to go. So it's important to know that we run our tours from February through December, and that depends definitely on the locations. In terms of when to go, Rick's general rule of thumb is to go south of the Alps in the spring and north of the Alps in the summer. And this is based on temperatures and on crowds and destinations that tend to have an off season where a lot of things will close down or stop running in the months between, October and March. Spring in general is great for the growing daylight as days are getting longer. It's not too hot yet. There's not as many crowds outside of Easter or some festivals. In fact, in Europe, spring doesn't even really start until after Easter, whereas we tend to think of spring as starting as March every year. In the summer, you have a great chance at having longer days, higher temperatures. Again, stay north of the Alps if you want to stay away from those high temperatures. But the full staff and full hours of museums and restaurants. And in August, especially, you have a lot of European vacationers. But aside from that, summer is a prime season to go. The cities are taking full advantage of both the light and the weather, and people are definitely living their best lives. Parks and riversides turn into outdoor living rooms. It's not unusual for Europeans to dine late. So remember that Europeans tend to eat dinner later than Americans. They wouldn't even consider coming back out in a summer afternoon or evening until after 8 p.m. So dining at 9 or 10 is more standard, especially in the Mediterranean countries. We, of course, take that into account on the tours. So we try to do meals at a more American time, but just so you know. Fall is probably my favorite time to travel. You have the colors changing, temperatures are dropping, but it's still really nice. Crowds recede, things are typically less crowded, and south of the Alps is a great time to see that changing of the seasons, experiencing the harvest with grapes or with olives, or take part in an event like Oktoberfest, which quite a few of our groups get to take advantage of when they're traveling through Munich or Germany in general. Winter is another, I think, underappreciated time to travel to Europe because it's perfect for those big cities. Our city tours run through most of the winter time because the sites and activities that you can do indoors, so you don't really have to worry so much about the weather, and because typically you see a lot smaller crowds. It's true that the days are shorter, but the cities light up with decorations, and it's the perfect excuse for just getting cozy in a pub or lingering over a long meal. And a lot of major cities have wintertime activities and markets, great for partaking or people watching, and that is just a lot of fun. So that's just some things about why our tours are unique. We are going to now move on and talk about a day in the life on tour, on a Rick Steves tour. And I know that we have another video that Ben is going to queue up for us that gives us an in-depth look with a local guide.
Yeah, our guides are so good. We film off.
Ciao, hello, my name is David Tordi. I'm a Rick Steves tour guide, and welcome to Orvieto, my hometown, which is one of the most beautiful hill towns of Italy.
One of the beautiful things of walking the streets of Orvieto is you feel like lost in a labyrinth, in a maze, but you're not really lost. It's full of so many hidden corners.
Hidden gems, not only the highlights, the Duomo and St. Patrick's Well, but many, many places like this one, this beautiful side alley where it's only residential, there's no shops, nothing, just homes. Incredible architecture and history. It's a town that breathes history. Rick Steves and I share the same travel philosophy and lifestyle philosophy. What we really try to do is to broaden people's perspective on a new culture. We get together with the locals, we get to meet them. We often go to their homes, to their working places. They share their life, their culture, their traditions with us. And a few hour experience is something magical, unique, an experience that we will never forget. Now we are inside a private residency, a medieval courtyard with an incredible colonnade. The colonnade is made of ancient Roman columns coming from original Roman villas from the outskirts of Orvieto. And the unique feature is that each column is different from the other because they all belong to different villas. One of the things that I really love about tours with Rick Steves is the bonding that happens from the very first day, and the fact that people tend to become really close friends and have a great time in the future, even after the tour is over. Here we are in the oldest part of my hometown, Orvieto, the ancient medieval quarter, where we can actually see with our own eyes a layer cake of civilizations built on top of civilizations, since the Etruscan times all the way to modern times. Showing somebody Orvieto for the first time, for me, it's an emotion every time, because people come visit where I was born and raised. It's beautiful to see people's reaction in their faces, how they open up to a new culture. I love introducing my local people to my new tour members. Everyone doesn't know what to expect, and there's an incredible form of respect and appreciation of each other. And that's just part of the magic of guiding a tour.
Something I love about our local guides is just how involved they are with our lead guides. It's not just someone that they've never met before that we just hire off of some random list. You form friendships with the local guides for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe now it is my turn to talk about some things. So let's talk about next. Let's talk about a day in the life on a tour. So we're going to do two. We're going to take turns. I'm going to go first, and then Robyn's going to go, and I'm going to do a day on the best of Europe in 21 days. I've already mentioned that this is the granddaddy of all the tours, and we're going to actually show you kind of step by step what a really busy day on tour looks like. So this is the town of Bacharach along the Rhine River in Germany, where we stay for 2 nights, and you can see here, day 4, Rhine castles and a river cruise, strenuous walking 2 to 8 miles throughout the day with lots of hills, stairs, and uneven terrain. Boat 1 hour, bus half hour, sleep in Bacharach. And I will say that we do normally sleep in most places 2 nights minimum. That's our standard, so that we always have the day we arrive, and then we get up, and then we have a full day, and we sleep in the same place, and that helps with rootedness, so you feel better, and you're not changing hotels every night. I just think that's something worth mentioning. A lot of people want to know, what time does the tour start in the morning? So I have actually brought in 2 of my daily schedules. So here is the family-friendly tour. 7 a.m. breakfast is available. That doesn't mean you need to be there at 7, but at 8:15 we're meeting on the street in front of the hotel to go to the Tower of London. And you're going to bring your audio systems, because we do use, on almost all of our tours, we use a transmitter that the guide has a microphone, and we wear little earphones in our ears, and we also send information to you about a month before saying, hey, if you wear hearing aids, you're going to maybe want to bring some over-the-ear headphones for yourself, because we found that to be easier for people. They're more comfortable. But anyway, so 8:15, we're going to meet on the street in front of the hotel to go to the Tower of London. We're going to use public transportation to get there, and then we're going to have a visit of the Tower of London, and then at, what do I say in there? It's so far away. 1:05, we're going to cruise to Westminster Pier. A good guide is giving you those kinds of options. So at 1:05, we're going to meet to go on the boat. And I tell my tour members, listen, here's 5 or 6 places that you can eat. If you want to sit down and eat, you can do that before we meet up at 1:05. Or if you want to maximize your time, grab a sandwich from Pret a Manger or Starbucks, and you can eat it on the boat. So good guides are thinking about how to maximize your time. And then free afternoon, free evening, my emergency number, because that's one of the things we're here for as guides. I did black it out, so you're not calling me tonight asking me how to turn on the television in your room, but you know, that happens. And then this is an early day on the best of Europe in 14 days. 6:30 breakfast is available. 8 a.m. we're going to load our bags, drive to Paris, rest stop en route. That's important. We're stopping as a group every 2 to 2.5 hours, whether it's on the bus or whether it's during a walking tour. We know that you need to use the bathroom. We've got that planned, so we will make those breaks. 12:30-ish arrive hotel. We'll do orientation of the neighborhood so people know where things is, point out a few restaurants, you're free for lunch. And then again, 2:40, we're going to meet to take the metro to the Louvre, and we're going to skip the line with our reservations, and you're going to guide through the Louvre using the Rick Steves Audio Europe app. And then you're free for the rest of the afternoon, free for the evening, because this is the end of the tour. Day 12, day 13 is our last full day in Paris, and we're going to have a goodbye dinner on the night of the last night. And that is something that people do always call and ask us in the tour department. What are we doing on the last day of the tour? On the last day of the tour, breakfast is included, but we've had a big goodbye celebratory dinner the night before, because some people are going to sleep in, some people are going to go to the airport early. Not everybody's going to, it's not a group thing. The guide will be there at breakfast to make sure everything is taken care of, make sure you're taken care of. But we have the lovely, our last supper the night before. And then specifically for the best of Europe in 21 days, the cruises and castles, I call it. 7 a.m. breakfast is available. This is the strenuous day. So 8:30, we're going to meet in the breakfast room to begin our walking tour. And I'm going to show you pictures of all of this, but our walking tour, a short bathroom break, free time for lunch, hike up to the castle, take the boat, come back. So let's look at what that looks like. So we're sleeping in the little town of Bacharach on the Rhine, population about
5.
800. Oh, see, she's newer than I am. The population is dwindling. So somewhere between 500 and 800 people still live there. It is still a wine growing village, and this is a wine festival they were having. We meet one of our local guides, either Tomas or Birgit, and they take us around even up into the vineyards above the town so we can see what it is like, see the products that they're making. And you have this beautiful view of the town and the ruined Gothic chapel. And then we come back down, and this is our bus driver's favorite day of the tour because they only have to work for like a half an hour. They drive us 6 miles to the town of Senguar, and then we hike up the hill to this castle, the ruined castle of Rheinfels, the mightiest castle on the Rhine. And we have a guide who takes us around there, and we go through, see that you can see how far away from the river we are. This picture is to tell you, yeah, you hiked 20 minutes up that hill. Good cardio, but we just had a lunch of sausages and Schupfnudeln, so I need to do it to get up that hill. So we're up at the top of the castle. We tour the castle. We're going through all kinds of uneven surfaces. We all have our flashlights on our phones or our regular flashlights, and we're going through mine tunnels, and it's super exciting and fun. And we are almost always the only tour group here, and they take us through all these locked gates, and it's really exciting, and I love it. It's one of my favorite days. And then we come down and we take a cruise along the Rhine. That's the boat for 1 hour. So this is what the boat looks like. It's big. It holds a couple hundred people, and there's usually not very many people on it. So we spread out. The sun can be shining. You're drinking a beer, enjoying the 6 or 7 castles that we cruise
Well,
by.
it's the Rick's favorite stretch of the entire Rhine. It's 1 hour of the best stretch of the Rhine.
And we're so smart that we're going back to Bacharach, which means we're going upstream, which means that the cruise is 20 minutes longer than if we were going downstream. So we get extra time to look at the castles. And then we land back at Bacharach, usually around 5:30. And so then you have a free evening to do wine tasting with your new tour buddies or find the perfect schnitzel.
I'm still on the search for the perfect schnitzel.
I try it everywhere I go.
But I always do the wine tasting. All right. Well, thank you, Lisa, for that. I am going to talk about a very different day on tour. My day is going to be the first day of the tour on Venice, Florence, and Rome. And this is one of our most popular tours, as you saw on a slide earlier today. I chose day 1 because it's a really fun approach and way to start the tour, starting in Venice. And this tour is marked light as opposed to the strenuous day that we just heard about. And this is just going to give you an idea. You can apply a lot of what I'm saying about day 1 to just about any tour to give you an idea of what happens on the first day of the tour. And remember that when you sign up for a Rick Steves tour, you will be navigating to the first hotel on your own. So we don't pick you up at the airport, but we do provide you with those kind of step-by-step directions to get to the starting hotel with multiple options. And Venice is a really unique and fun city and a car-free city. And you'll probably either arrive by plane or by train, and that will get you to the first part of the islands. And then you'll probably most likely get on a boat that will take you to the nearest stop closest to your hotel. So a really kind of fun way to approach the first city on tour. We always recommend that you arrive the night before the tour begins, just to help you get over jet lag and to avoid any potential travel delays, train strikes, flight delays, that kind of thing. You can always book a pre-tour hotel room with your first hotel, and you can do that directly. We give you the information, the contact information and whatnot, and they're so used to tour members doing this in our group. You just tell them what departure you're on, and they say, oh yeah, sure, no problem. And I would say 9 times out of 10, they'll put you in the room that you'll use for the tour, so you don't even have to change rooms.
It's in their best interest.
It is.
Right?
And I can't say again enough just how much our hotels really love the kind of travelers who take a Rick Steves tour. They want our groups. They always ask us for our dates to make sure they can prioritize our groups before opening up their reservations to anyone else.
And I love that hotel.
I know.
I know that.
Aaron
hotel. Yeah.
So after settling into your room, you'll have most of day 1 of the tour free to rest and explore. This is a great time to wander the neighborhood, to get your bearings, see some of the major sites for the first time that you'll probably get more in-depth visits of with local guides in the following days. And remember that the best antidote against jet lag is fresh air and movement. So even though you might seem tired, I promise you, if you get out in the fresh air, walk around a little bit, you will feel refreshed and you'll have time to grab something for lunch. This is a great opportunity to check out a traditional Venetian cicchetti bar. So in Venice, they have all of these cicchetti bars around where you can create a small plate or order a main dish if you want something a little more substantial. But it's always fun to kind of just point and pick what you'd like to try, enough to tide you over. And then in the late afternoon, we'll always let you know what time exactly. It differs by itinerary, but in the late afternoon, you will join your guide and you'll meet your fellow tour members for what we call the first night welcome meeting. This typically takes place in your hotel and lasts around 90 minutes. And together, you'll get reminders about the overview of the tour, the expectations for traveling as a group, and you'll go through introductions, and your tour guide will give you any other information that you need to know about your tour. After the welcome meeting, typically your guide will take you on a brief orientation walk. Again, not only to give you some just first glimpses at places, but also to make sure you know where your hotel is and you know how to get back to your hotel during your free time. And the orientation walk normally ends at dinner. You'll sit down together, and this is the first chance that you get to start getting to know one another. And it's a great bonding moment. Everyone is kind of giddy and talking about like, oh, is this your first tour? How many tours have you been on? What tours are your favorite? And what are you most looking forward to? That's a really fun question. After dinner, your guide will help you get back to the hotel. Even though they've done a good job orienting you, they won't just kick you out. They'll get you back to the hotel. And by this time, I'm sure you'll be ready for bed and you'll hopefully sleep all the way through the night and wake fresh for day 2 because you'll be hitting the ground running from there on.
That's right. That's exactly what I like to say is we hit the ground running. So if we have convinced you that a Rick Steves tour is right for you, the next steps, sign up online. Your deposit is fully refundable for any reason for up to 30 days. If you find later that a date doesn't work for you, you can transfer to any other date in the same calendar year before your final payment is due. And we're okay with that. Wait lists, or more accurately, notification of openings lists are free, no obligation. You can be on up to 5. So if a tour happens to be full already, like some of the Scandinavia tours already are, and we only started selling the tours last week.
Yeah.
Oh, mamma mia. So you can be on a wait list and it's no obligation. Like I said, free. You can call our office for honest advice. We don't work on commission. So we're not a call center across the ocean. We're, I don't know, 15 or 20 people in the customer experience department. We go on the tours, we lead the tours, but we're here to help you with your questions. So give us a call or send us an email.
It's not a sales pitch.
Right.
It's more, we really want you to make sure you're going to enjoy this tour. So if you have a real question, want an honest answer, I think that's the best thing to do is pick up the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're not on commission, and we will be honest, there honestly is an early booking discount of $100 from now until July 7th, and you don't need a promo code. It will just automatically be applied. And all of our itineraries are online and they're updated in live time. So if you look at this slide, you see August 2nd to August 15th, it says sign up. That means there's 6 or more seats available. And then if you look down to the one in yellow that says August 9th, it says filling fast, it says 1 seat is available. So that's updated in live time. So if it says 1 seat, don't call us and say, can I put 2 people on it? Because there's 1 seat left. But if there's 2 seats, then it will say that. And then the other dates you can see already are join waitlist. So again, no obligation. You click on the button, fill out your information, and then if seats become available, we send out an email to everybody that's on the wait list. And now it is time for Ben to take over because we have done our jobs. We're going to take a quick sip of our libations, and then we'll be back in a few minutes with Q&A.
Thank you, Lisa and Robyn. You were magnificent as usual. I'm just going to share a few reminders before we get to the Q&A. And that is a reminder, in fact, for all of our fellow travelers tonight to write your questions in the Q&A widget so that Jen and Stephen can see them and get them to me. as best they can. So this was night 2. This is night 2 of the 2025 Festival of Tours. We have 7 more nights to go. We hope to see some of you there. That giveaway, we just heard Lisa and Robyn mention it again. It's really very special that we are giving away 2 free 7-day city tours. So don't forget to sign up for that. The link is in the chat and will be in the follow-up email. That early booking discount, $100 on all 2026 tours through July 7th, is ready and waiting for you. To learn more about our tours, our website is such a tremendous resource. At ricksteves.com, on the left-hand side, you can click Our Tours, and then you'll see a list of countries and regions if you wish to dial down to a specific area, or you can search by year, 2025, 2026. This can really help you learn more about our tours, or just give you inspiration on places you might want to go independently. We also have tours on sale on the left-hand side of ricksteves.com. We have some tours on sale for 2025 specifically. We are mostly sold out, but there is still some remaining availability. Rick Steves Travel Talks YouTube channel. I believe this is where Monday Night Travel lives. Of course, we'll have this recording up there within 48 hours, perhaps sooner. And you can see hours and hours more of travel content at the Rick Steves Travel Talks YouTube channel. We also have the fantastic and very helpful travel forum. This is a tremendous resource. We have an active community. You can go to the travel forum. There you see the tab on the left at ricksteves.com. You can ask questions and fellow travelers can answer, or you can review what other people have asked and the advice that they've given. So it's a great, great resource. And with that, I'm going to join again with Lisa and Robyn for a Q&A. Nice to see you both again. You were tremendous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. It was our pleasure. We've done this 4 or 5 times now, and I think we could talk about tours all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your experience certainly shows. We have quite a few questions. I'm going to start with a few that several people had. We had sort of a cluster of questions about solo travel. Do we have many solo travelers on our tours?
Yes. In fact, I mean, Lisa will chime in from her tour guiding expertise, and I will jump in from just managing all the tours expertise. So already for 2026, we've had over 250 solo travelers sign up. And that is a lot of people for just being open for 1 week. But yes, we have a good number of solo travelers who sign up, and it's a great way to, you're never going to be alone. You're always going to have, 24, 25, 26 other people with you. But it's also a good way to experience Europe on your own within the safety of a group. And Lisa has more to say, I'm sure.
Lisa has more to say. Lisa always has more to say.
It's a safe bet.
Yes, I would say that we routinely have solo travelers on our tours. And I would say, I don't get very many tours where there's just one. I'd say it really hovers right around 4 solo travelers per tour. So it can flex up and down, but that seems to be the average. And if we've got quite a few, 250 solo travelers already signed up, because you have access to all the data, so you can run the reports. I just have to physically go on the tours and meet everyone. So from my experience, but yeah, so we do have quite a few. I will say it's more women than men. So, Frank, if you're out there and you're looking for love, you can take Rick Steves' tour, and there'll probably be some solo women on tour. I don't know if that's too much for me to say, but I think that we have a lot of them on tour, and they're treated very well and respected, and we're subsidizing single supplements for next year, which makes it more affordable. So I think it's very happy. I've gone on our tours as a solo traveler like 5 or 6 times and really appreciated it.
And I'm about to join as a solo traveler tomorrow, and I've done so in the past as well and really enjoyed it. Shannon and others have inquired about dietary restrictions. Can these be managed okay on our tours? Can people with dietary restrictions travel with us?
So yes. So what I as a guide want you to know is that we're not an airline, and it's not one meal. So we can't do like low sodium and like low cholesterol. We can't handle that, but we're really, really good with vegans and vegetarians and people who can eat pork and that
Celiac.
sort of things, and celiac, yeah, gluten intolerant.
And also, of course, like actual allergies that might kill
Yeah.
you.
Yes. We are, as guides, we are very invested in making sure that you don't get food that can harm you. So we're used to dealing with that. And I think that's important because we want you to get the straight skinny on what that's like.
I'll say also that, like hotel rooms and like how Europe is just different than America in general, sometimes group meals will be very different if it's vegetarian. I know from experience that sometimes a vegetarian option will just be a plate of vegetables or a large salad. So it might not be as interesting as what the rest of the group who are carnivores are eating, but you're not going to go hungry. And Europe has so many natural food stores and areas in the grocery stores that you really can supplement whatever you're craving as well.
Yeah, supplementing is a good thing. You do have to bring a little bit of flexibility with you. That's important.
If a tour doesn't completely fill, Robyn, this might be a good question for you. Do we cancel it?
No, and with a very small asterisk caveat, where it's within our ability to run it, we will run it. If it's outside of our control, like a natural disaster or some kind of political thing or whatnot, we may need to cancel the tour. But in general, if a tour is open and it has tour members on it, and we will do whatever we can do to fill it, and I would say like less than, well, we haven't canceled any for 2025 that have been not full. So we have a good track record of we don't want to cancel. We don't want to cancel a tour once we've committed to selling it.
That is great. Thank you very much, Robyn. I just want to read this comment from Gregory. I think it's great. Gregory wrote in the Q&A, "We love the no grumps policy. Back in the day, we made our kids read and sign the statements themselves." We could expand that no grumps policy a little bit, I think. Okay, just a couple more questions. Bob asks, is there an upper age limit for our tours?
No. In fact, I mean, again, from personal experience, I'm sure you've had it as well. Sometimes the older the tour member, the most spry and enthusiastic and excited they are compared to younger tour members who probably could be more spry, but just aren't. I mean, I think sometimes older tour members come with a different appreciation of what they're experiencing, and you know, we make do with all the tour members who end up on our tours, regardless of the age.
No, if you can make it from the airplane to the hotel cheerfully, comfortably, you'll be fine on tour. The minimum you need to be able to do is to take your luggage from the bus 15 minutes to the hotel, and that's all you need to be able to do if you want to sit out other things, because you're traveling with, you know, if you're 5 kids and grandkids, and you're like, if that's the minimum you need to be able to do, and then you can absolutely go on the tour. But the more you can move, the happier you'll be.
Amen.
I had a couple 90-year-olds on one of my tours, and they did exceptionally well. So yes, we have people of all ages for sure. Audrey would like to know, for our tour hotels, do they typically provide soap and shampoo, or should you bring your own?
Yeah. There used to be a time when that wasn't always the case, but I would say 99% of the hotels now provide that. What you might not have is the little loofah, or a sponge. If you're used to having that, you can bring like a little travel size one if Lisa approves.
Yeah, what you're gonna want to pack is a washcloth or a loofah or a sponge, something to scrub, because that's considered a personal item in Europe and they don't provide that. And I would say if you're used to hair conditioner, bring that. But shampoo and soap, yes, at all the hotels.
Barbara asks, were there many changes for our tours in 2026?
There were a couple more major changes. For example, in 2026, our Sicily tour is now going to be 12 days long, and we're going to spend 2 nights in Catania at the end of it. In 2025, it's 11 days long with just 1 night in Catania at the end. And I believe we're swapping out more kind of regional overnights, going from the city of Beaune to the area of Burgundy, And there was another one.
Well, for 2025, we're going to go to Salzburg, and we're changing that. But 2026, has that been decided? She works upstairs.
They're selling 2026 already.
Yes.
So 2026. So there are just a few overnight changes. Oh, it was Lake Orta. At the end of Village Italy, we are sleeping in Modena instead of Lake Orta.
God, that is such a great change. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
Modena is a fantastic city. It's the birthplace of balsamic vinegar, and it is so much easier to get to a major airport from Modena than from Lake Orta. So I'm sorry, Lake Orta, but that change is a fantastic one. It is. It's Modena.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then there's always a handful of kind of daily activity changes just due to what we're able to get for reservations, or logistically a day is working better one way or the other. But no major, like, we've completely retooled, the best of Central Europe, nothing like that.
I think it just shows how much we care, because we spend a lot of time talking about these itineraries.
Yes, that is certainly true. Thank you, Lisa and Robyn. Speaking of updates, we have a question from Jennifer on the current environment for traveling in Europe. Perhaps you two could comment if you're experiencing or you've heard of any negative experiences towards Americans due to what's going on currently.
Absolutely none. I was just there at the end of March. Warm welcome everywhere we went. Lots of people out there traveling already in the spring. I think I just actually did a conversation about this, but Europeans in general are very good at separating the people from the politics, regardless of where you fall in any kind of political affiliation. Europeans tend to view people as just people, and can separate what the government is doing from what the person that's right in front of them is doing. And I would say now more than ever, it's important that we go to Europe and to show these Europeans and make those connections that Americans really do care about things that are going on in the world. And I think this is the best way that we can kind of get through it together.
Amen.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Robyn. Okay, I will just ask one more question from Emily. Could you please tell us, what was your first Rick Steves tour?
Oh,
yeah,
I know.
I do too.
Okay. You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay, my first Rick Steves tour was May 17th, Best of Italy in 2000. I was the assistant guide, and Don Camara was the lead guide. He's still with us. And and I remember it because I did that tour May 17th in 2000, and I did that tour May 18th in 2001. It was funny because the weather was completely different on both of those tours. One, it was pretty hot, and the other one, it was kind of rainy. But I just massively fell in love with Italy, and that still stands to this day. That's why I'm leading a Heart of Italy tour next week.
And mine was the Best of France when it was 17 days long. In 2004, and I distinctly remember I had no experience in France, didn't speak French at all, and I thought, why in the world are they sending me to France? Of course, it was to learn. I was with a guide there named Serge, and on the fourth day of the tour, a tour member fell down and shattered her elbow and broke her ankle, and guess who got to go with her from Arromanches to Paris in the middle of the night in an ambulance in a place where you don't speak English? The poor doctor at the hospital took one look at me and had great pity and set me up with a hotel room. And I don't know how I survived, but if I survived that 20 years later, I can survive anything else. And 2 tour members from that tour, we became friends, and we're still friends now.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's fantastic. My first tour was the 21-day Best of Europe, the flagship in 2017. Which was a remarkable experience. And Robyn, you mentioned you're still friends with 2 people from that itinerary. I stay in touch with probably 6 or 8 people from that 21-day tour, and they still meet up that same 6 or 8. They're still traveling together. So you really meet wonderful people on our tours. That's kind of an unspoken benefit of people we bring together and our travelers. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that was the last question. Robyn and Lisa, thank you so much for sharing so much of your knowledge and wisdom about our tours with us tonight.
Thanks, Ben. We hope to see some of you on the road.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Thanks for inviting us into your homes. And thank you, Ben, for a great job this evening.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for traveling with us on our tours, virtually at least.